There are moments in life when silence speaks louder than words, when a glance holds more power than 1,000 promises. In the quiet corners of every crowded room, someone's eyes would follow, gentle, unspoken, yet full of fire. Every smile she carried was a sunrise, painting warmth across the day. Every laugh, a melody that refused to leave the heart once it entered. And though no voice confessed, admiration bloomed in secret, like a rose hiding beneath the shadows of the night. There was no need for grand gestures. The beauty was in the stillness. The way admiration grew quietly, like a candle that never demanded attention, yet gave light anyway. And so, time passed. She walked, and the world seemed brighter. She spoke, and silence leaned in to listen. And though the heart longed to be known, the choice was made to remain unseen, to simply admire. For sometimes, the truest form of love is not possession. It is presence. Not claiming, but cherishing. Not declaring, but silently watching, with a heart full of secret desire. Silent admiration is often misunderstood, yet it is one of the purest expressions of affection a soul can carry. It does not shout, it does not demand. It does not seek to be noticed in return. Instead, it lives in the quiet spaces, where glances linger longer than they should, where the heart whispers what the lips cannot dare to speak. There is a kind of beauty in loving silently, in watching from a distance, and allowing the beloved to simply exist without interference. This kind of love never tries to bend the other person's path, never tries to alter their choices, never tries to claim what does not belong to it. It thrives in observation, in the precious seconds when the world fades, and all that remains is the presence of the one admired. Every time she smiles, there is a stillness that falls upon the watcher's heart. Every tilt of her head, every gentle expression, every spark in her eyes, these are memorized like poetry, carried within, recited in secret during lonely hours. To admire someone silently is to notice the smallest details, details that perhaps the world overlooks. It is to see the way her hands brush back her hair, the way her laughter arrives, suddenly like a burst of sunlight after rain. The way she walks with an effortless grace that seems to turn the ordinary into something eternal. None of this is spoken. None of this is declared, but it is treasured with a devotion that words could never capture. Silent admiration carries with it a strange kind of sweetness and ache. Sweetness, because the heart is filled with light whenever the beloved is near. Ache, because that love is not shared, not spoken, not confirmed. And yet, there is dignity in that silence. It allows love to exist without expectation. It allows the admirer to give freely without the hunger to receive. It is a quiet flame, burning steadily in the dark, unseen but alive. There is no need for ownership, no need for promises, no need for labels. It is enough to love, even if love has no voice. This kind of affection is gentle, almost invisible to the outside world, but powerful enough to shape the inner life of the one who feels it. Days become brighter because of a smile remembered. Nights become softer because of a glance replayed in the mind. Even though nothing is spoken, the presence of the beloved transforms ordinary existence into something magical. The silence becomes a sanctuary, a safe place where love is preserved, untarnished by rejection, untouched by doubt. To admire silently is to hold beauty with reverence, to let it remain as it is, unbroken by desire, unspoiled by demand. Silent admiration is a secret garden in the heart, where feelings bloom quietly, hidden from the world but deeply alive within. It is a kind of love that exists not to be proven, but simply to be felt. It is the art of cherishing without disturbing, the courage of loving without claiming, the devotion of holding someone in the heart without ever placing them in the hand. Everyday beauty is the kind that does not announce itself with grand entrances or dramatic gestures. It slips quietly into the air, unnoticed by most, yet it has the power to transform everything it touches. A smile that arrives without effort can soften the sharpest day, turning heaviness into something lighter, more bearable. A laugh, genuine and unrestrained, carries with it a kind of melody that lingers long after the sound has faded. These simple moments, these ordinary fragments of human expression, carry more wonder than all the staged performances of the world. They remind us that beauty is not only found in painted sunsets or carefully crafted art. It lives in the smallest gestures of everyday life. To notice such beauty is to train the heart to see differently. It is not about seeking perfection. It is about recognizing grace in the natural flow of existence. The way her eyes light up when she speaks of something she loves. The way her presence seems to brighten the very air. The unassuming way she occupies a room without trying. These are not things that can be rehearsed or imitated. They are unguarded truths, flowing from her without calculation. The admirer sees them, treasures them, and finds in them a reason to believe that life holds wonders that cannot be explained, only felt. Everyday beauty is the kind that does not fade when the stage is gone or the lights are dimmed. It exists in the ordinary rhythm of living, in the soft curve of a smile offered to a stranger, in the warmth of a kind glance that requires no words. When someone laughs, truly laughs, it is as if the world forgets its troubles for a heartbeat. That sound carries healing, it carries joy. It carries a purity that the soul recognizes even when the mind cannot explain it. Such beauty is effortless, and perhaps that is what makes it so extraordinary. It cannot be forced, it cannot be fabricated. It belongs only to the moment in which it arises. To admire this beauty is to fall in love not with appearances, but with presence. It is not about polished perfection, but about authenticity. The raw, unfiltered humanity that makes a person shine without knowing it. A wrinkle of the nose in laughter, a sparkle in the eye at a sudden thought, the softness in the voice when speaking gently. These are fragments of everyday beauty that weave themselves into the memory of those who notice. They become treasures, replayed in silence, remembered in solitude, cherished long after the moment has passed. Everyday beauty, when seen through the eyes of admiration, is more powerful than anything extravagant. It does not demand attention, yet it captures it fully. It does not try to impress, yet it leaves an imprint that cannot be erased. To recognize it is to live in awe of the little things, to understand that the most remarkable parts of life are not rare. They are constant, quietly waiting to be noticed. And when they are, the world feels warmer, softer, and infinitely more alive. Unseen devotion is the kind of love that exists in the background, steady and unwavering, even when it is never acknowledged. It is the quiet decision to care deeply without demanding a return, to give silently without expecting recognition. It moves like a shadow, always present yet never intrusive, watching over with a tenderness that refuses to disturb. This devotion does not need applause, it does not crave validation. It simply exists because the heart has chosen to love in its own way. It is a loyalty hidden from the eyes of the world, but alive in the depths of one's soul. There is a unique strength in loving this way. To carry devotion that remains unseen is to embrace patience, to hold affection gently, instead of pressing it into the open. It means living with the constant ache of being invisible, while still finding joy in the happiness of the one admired. When she smiles, it feels like the sun has risen, even if that smile is not directed toward the one who adores her. When she laughs, the heart responds with quiet joy, even if she never knows who treasures that sound. To devote oneself silently is to give everything and ask for nothing, to celebrate her existence, even when the celebration happens alone. This unseen devotion manifests in countless small ways. It is there in the way the eyes seek her naturally, in the way thoughts wander to her without invitation. It is present in the unspoken prayers for her well-being, in the silent wishes for her peace, in the invisible threads of concern woven into every day. She may never notice the glances, never hear the unspoken words, never feel the invisible shelter of that love. But still, it endures. It becomes a constant presence. Hidden yet alive, unacknowledged yet unshaken. There is a kind of nobility in this devotion. It refuses to burden the beloved with expectation. It asks for no recognition, no gratitude, no return. Instead, it delights in the freedom of simply admiring, simply caring, simply loving without conditions. It is an act of surrender, allowing affection to live in silence, rather than forcing it into light where it may not belong. Some might call it weakness, but in truth, it is strength of the highest order. To hold love quietly, to let it grow without pressing it forward, to be content with the unseen. Unseen devotion often creates a private world within the admirer. Every detail of her becomes sacred, every memory treasured, every moment remembered in the secret places of the heart. This hidden love shapes thoughts, inspires dreams, and softens the soul in ways no one else could ever see. Even without acknowledgement, it gives purpose, it gives color, it gives warmth. And though the world may never witness it, and she may never know it exists, unseen devotion continues faithfully. An invisible flame, burning with dignity and tenderness, untouched by recognition, untouched by time. The power of presence is often underestimated. Yet it carries a depth of meaning that words cannot reach. There are times when nothing needs to be spoken, no declarations made, no elaborate actions taken. Simply being near is enough. The atmosphere changes when the beloved enters the room. Even without a single glance exchanged, the heart becomes aware, the air feels different, and the world seems brighter. Presence has a language of its own, a silent influence that calms, uplifts, and inspires. It is not about doing anything, but about existing in the same space, breathing the same air, sharing the same moment in time. To feel the presence of someone admired is to carry an invisible comfort. Even from across the room, even in a crowd where no words are shared, there is a sense of connection that makes the world less lonely. A single moment of proximity can feel like eternity condensed into seconds, leaving an imprint that lingers long after the encounter ends. Presence has a way of softening the edges of reality, making even ordinary surroundings feel like sacred ground. When she is near, the silence speaks. The heart no longer seeks meaning in words, because the presence itself is enough to fill the soul. This power is subtle but profound. A presence can bring peace in the midst of chaos, light in the midst of heaviness. Without effort, without intention, the one admired can transform a dull moment into something unforgettable, simply by being there. Presence carries a kind of magic that cannot be explained. It is not about touch, nor speech, nor grand gestures. It is about the quiet assurance that comes from simply existing together in the same space, however brief. To the admirer, these fleeting encounters become treasures, replayed endlessly in memory. Proof that sometimes the most powerful connections do not require any action at all. The beauty of presence is that it does not have to be shared to be felt. Even if she never notices, even if her attention is elsewhere, the admirer still feels the warmth of her nearness. It is a gift that asks for nothing, but gives everything. Her presence becomes an anchor, something that steadies the restless heart, something that reminds the soul of beauty in its purest form. Just the sight of her, even in passing, is enough to transform a day, enough to plant joy where there was emptiness, enough to inspire hope where there was none. Presence teaches that love does not always need to be expressed through actions or words. Sometimes, the greatest expression of affection is simply to be there, quietly, without interference, without demands. The heart does not always need conversation, it does not always crave acknowledgement. Sometimes, it only needs closeness. The power of presence lies in its simplicity, in the way it can touch the deepest parts of the heart without ever trying, without ever speaking, without ever even being noticed. It is the kind of power that lingers, the kind that shapes memory, the kind that lasts long after the moment has passed. Unclaimed yet cherished is a love that exists in its purest form, untouched by possession, unaltered by demand. It is the quiet acknowledgement that not all love stories are meant to be written with ink and vows. Some are meant to live only in the heart, delicate and eternal. To cherish without claiming is to honor the freedom of the one admired, to allow her to walk her path without interruption, without the weight of expectations. It is the act of holding her presence as a gift, even if it never truly belongs. Such love does not shrink because it cannot be held, it expands, because it knows how to value without owning. There is a profound grace in loving this way. Ownership often seeks to control, to shape, to bind, but cherishing without claim is selfless, it releases instead of clings. It is a love that delights in simply witnessing her happiness, even if that happiness is found in places where the admirer cannot follow. Every smile she shares, every dream she pursues, every joy she embraces, these become treasures to the one who watches quietly, not because they are shared, but because they exist. To cherish her is to celebrate her being, without the need to label, confine, or demand a role within her life. Unclaimed love is not weaker than claimed love, in many ways, it is stronger. It requires the courage to step aside, to love without being loved back, to carry devotion without proof of return. It is not a lesser form of affection, but perhaps one of the purest. For what greater expression of love is there than to want the best for someone without needing to tie them to yourself? This kind of cherishing is unselfish. It is free, it is boundless. It allows the beloved to be fully herself, unshaped by another's desire. And in that freedom, the admirer finds beauty, because she is radiant when she is unbound. There is also a sweetness in the ache of this kind of love. The heart knows it cannot claim, yet it refuses to stop cherishing. There is pain in the distance, but also an undeniable joy in the closeness of spirit, in the silent adoration that continues regardless of circumstance. The beloved may never know how deeply she is treasured, may never sense the weight of the affection she carries unknowingly, yet still, the devotion remains. It does not wither because it lacks acknowledgement. Instead, it flourishes because it is rooted in sincerity. Unclaimed yet cherished love is like holding a flower in the heart, without ever needing to pluck it from the soil. It is enough to see it bloom, enough to breathe its fragrance, enough to know that it exists. This kind of love does not diminish because it is hidden. It grows, quietly, gracefully, in the secret chambers of the soul. And though it may never be spoken, never be shared, it is real, and it is powerful. Because it chooses to cherish, even when it cannot claim. Secret desires are the invisible threads that weave through the heart, quiet but unrelenting, soft yet powerful enough to shape entire lives. They exist in the spaces between words, in the moments when the eyes linger too long, but the lips remain still. These desires are not always meant to be spoken, for their beauty often lies in their mystery. They are fragile, like glass. And sometimes giving them voice risks shattering the delicate world they have created in silence. Yet even when unspoken, they breathe. They live, they burn with an intensity that only the one who carries them can truly understand. There is a certain magic in keeping desires hidden. They give depth to the smallest encounters, turning ordinary moments into something extraordinary. A casual conversation becomes a symphony of unexpressed feelings. A glance across the room transforms into a memory the heart will hold for years. Every smile she offers becomes a secret treasure. Every laugh a hidden gift. Every presence a quiet spark feeding the fire within. These desires are never declared, yet they guide the heart's rhythm, shaping thoughts, dreams, and silent prayers. They are not bound by the need for recognition. They thrive simply in being felt. The sweetness of secret desires comes from their dual nature. They are both joy and ache. Joy, because the heart is alive, ignited by the presence of someone it cannot ignore. Ache, because that desire is carried in solitude, without release, without reply. Yet this ache is not entirely bitter. It carries its own kind of beauty. A reminder of the depth the heart is capable of. A proof that love can exist even without words, even without acknowledgement. To live with secret desires is to walk with both light and shadow, to hold both sweetness and sorrow in the same breath. Such hidden longings shape the admirer into a dreamer. They inspire the imagination, filling nights with silent conversations, with visions of what could be if courage and circumstance allowed. But even without becoming reality, they give meaning. They paint the world with colors unseen by others. They create music in silence, poetry in stillness, stories in the spaces where nothing was ever said. These desires whisper constantly, yet never scream. They guide the soul quietly, yet firmly, toward something greater than itself. Secret desires also protect themselves in silence. They cannot be rejected, because they were never confessed. They cannot be broken, because they were never shared. They live in a safe place within, untouchable by the outside world. And though they may never come true, they remain cherished, because they reveal the truth of the heart, that it is capable of deep, unselfish love, even in silence. These desires may never be spoken aloud, but they are eternal in the heart that carries them, shining in the hidden places where love is most alive, most vulnerable, and most real. In the end, what remains is not the spoken word, nor the grand gestures, but the quiet truth of the heart. Admiration, even in silence, carries a strength that time cannot erase. It is proof that love does not always need to be claimed to be real, nor shouted to be powerful. Sometimes, the most beautiful stories are the ones that live between the lines, unseen by the world, but deeply felt in the soul. So let us remember this: love in its purest form is not about possession, but about presence. It is not about declaring, but about cherishing. And even if the world never hears it, even if it is carried only in silence, it remains a treasure, an eternal flame, alive within. Thank you for listening, for allowing this story to breathe through words and silence alike. May you walk away with the reminder that even unspoken affection can change a heart, and even secret desires can give meaning to life. Until we meet again, take with you the quiet courage to cherish, to admire, and to love, in whatever form love finds you. Goodbye for now, and thank you.